been a fascinating day, so partisan, and really what this says about America, equally divided perhaps between those who will vote Republican and Democratic into that election. It speaks really, doesn't it, how divided the House of Representatives is too.
Themselves to not accept the way that President Trump talked.
Absolutely, and you talk about Bill Clinton and the impeachment there. There are some key distinctions. At this stage, at least, Bill Clinton was expressing some contrition, at least accepting his political fate, but not so Donald Trump.
The question is on adoption of Article 2. The question is on the adoption of Article 2. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. No. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. For what purpose does the gentleman from New York seek recognition? For what purpose?
So the lower house of Congress has found the 45th President of the United States guilty of treason, bribery, or other high crimes or misdemeanors as laid down by the Founding Fathers in the U.S. Constitution. Found guilty on the first article of impeachment, the first charge against him, that he abused his power as President of the United States.
Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote.
You were saying to me earlier that the question in the Senate
on this vote, the yeas are 229, the nays are 198, present is 1. Article 2 is adopted.
So 2 counts then. The President of the United States has been impeached on 2 counts. Nancy Pelosi leaves the floor. The first charge against him, abuse of power, and the second, obstruction of Congress.
The motion to reconsider Article 2 is laid on the table. Pursuant to Section 7B of House Resolution 758, the House stands adjourned till 9 a.m. tomorrow.
So I said in my letter to Pelosi, I love that. You know, usually there's 1, 2. The Republicans, look, I've said it for a long time. The Democrats are lousy politicians. They really are. They've got horrible policies, open borders, crime is fine, drugs pouring through. I mean, think of what they do. Sanctuary cities, they love sanctuary cities, you know. They're lousy politicians, but they have one thing, 2 things. They're vicious. They're the most vicious people. The Republicans aren't as vicious. They may learn to be vicious after going through this stuff. But the other thing, the Democrats always stick together. Now think of it. 3 Democrats went over to our side, no Republicans. It's unheard of. And by the way, this is for 100 years. I'm not just talking about this little point in time. The Republicans are known as it's always harder to stick together. These people are great. We have a great Republican Party, and we have to get that change. We have to take back the House. You'll have the greatest health care ever if we take, and by the way, we had another victory. The individual mandate, just a little while ago, came over the wires. It was just upheld. The individual mandate is now gone, the most unpopular part of Obamacare. It was just upheld. So I said in my letter to Pelosi, by proceeding with your invalid impeachment, you're violating your oath of office. You're breaking your allegiance to the Constitution. You're declaring open war on American democracy. You dare to invoke the Founding Fathers in pursuit of this election nullification scheme, yet your spiteful actions display unfettered contempt for America's founding and your egregious conduct. And listen, though, it's so true. It threatens to destroy what our founders pledged and, in fact, their very lives to build. You are the ones interfering in America's elections. You are the ones subverting America's democracy. We did nothing wrong, nothing whatsoever. This was just an excuse. You are the ones obstructing justice. You are the ones bringing pain and suffering to our republic for your own selfish, personal, political, and partisan gain. They're bringing pain. The work we could be doing on lowering drug prices, on getting rid of these horrible, horrible situations. You know, on the border, the woman is okay. Is she okay? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. I mean, some of these people are waiting here for 3 days, right? Thank you. They'll come back. Come back. Thank you. Merry Christmas is true. But what they've done with this perversion, it's perversion. And when you watch some of these people get up and speak today, they don't even listen. Oh, you have violated the Constitution. Well, what has he done wrong? Well, we don't know that. They don't even have any crime. This is the first impeachment where there's no crime. I say, tell me what I did, please. Well, we don't know. You violated the Constitution. You had Turley, who's smart, Alan Dershowitz, these guys, all of them. They say there's no crime. There's no crime, right? There's no crime. I'm the first person to ever get impeached, and there's no crime. I feel guilty. You know what they call it? Impeachment light. It's impeachment light. That's why, you know, with Richard Nixon, I just see it as a very dark era. Very dark, very, you don't even like to think. I don't know about you, but I'm having a good time. It's crazy. But I also know we have a great group of people behind us in the Republican Party. We really do. Maybe I wouldn't feel the same way, but we have a great group of people behind us. We had it in the House and we have it in the Senate. They're doing a great job. So I'm not worried. I'm not worried, because it's always good when you don't do anything wrong, you get impeached. That may be a record that will last forever. But you know what they have done? They've cheapened the impeachment process. And now anybody that becomes, this is a sacred position. Anybody that becomes president, I mean, they could have a phone call and they get impeached. So if the Republicans, if you had a Democrat as president, we have a Republican House, they don't like the guy for whatever reason, or the woman.
So leaving Donald Trump, calling it a perversion. Let's hear from the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi.
Of the United States. A sad one for America that the president's reckless activities necessitated our having to introduce articles of impeachment. May I thank our 6 chairs who for a long period of time have been legislating, investigating, and litigating. Today, that came to a culmination on the floor of the House with the Judiciary Committee under the leadership of Jerry Nadler of New York and the Intelligence Committee under the leadership of Adam Schiff of California brought the articles of impeachment to the floor to a conclusion where they have passed. I thank them for their tremendous leadership. I thank Chairwoman Maxine Waters of California, Richie of the Financial Services Committee, Richie Neal of Massachusetts, the chair of the Ways and Means Committee, Carolyn Maloney, the chair of the Government Oversight Committee, and of course Adam Schiff, the chair of the Intelligence Committee, for their great work over a period of time. I just want to say before yielding to the chairman that I could not be prouder or more inspired than by the moral courage of the House Democrats. We never asked one of them how they were going to vote. We never whipped this vote. We saw the vote. Well, you saw the public statements that some of them made. We saw the result when everyone else did. The statements on the floor about patriotism and about being very true to the vision of our founders. And so I view this day, this vote, as something that we did to honor the vision of our founders to establish a republic, the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform to defend our democracy and that republic, and the aspirations of our children that they will always live in a democracy, and that we have tried to do everything we can to make sure that is their reality. We'll hear from our chairman, and then we'll take 3 questions. I'm now honored to yield with great appreciation and respect to the distinguished chair of the Judiciary Committee, Chairman Nadler.
Thank you. The framers reserved the power of impeachment for the gravest offenses against our Constitution, against our liberty, and against our democratic institutions. President Trump used the powers of his office for his own personal political gain to the detriment of the national security interests of the United States. That is the very definition of an impeachable offense. When Congress began to investigate President Trump's wrongdoing, he engaged in an unprecedented pattern of obstruction. That, too, is why the impeachment power exists. A president who subverts both our elections and our constitutional system of checks and balances puts himself above the law, and it is Congress' duty to hold the president, any president, accountable. It gives us no pleasure to stand here today, but President Trump's conduct has put our next election at risk. President Trump's behavior puts the integrity of our constitutional order at risk, and President Trump's continued actions put the rule of law at risk. The framers gave us the power of impeachment for exactly this reason, and in fulfillment of our oath and obligation to the American people, today we took action to hold President Trump accountable for the serious and undisputed risk he poses to our free and fair elections and to the separation of powers that safeguards our liberty. A president must not be allowed to become a dictator. I want to thank Speaker Pelosi, Chairman Schiff, my fellow investigative chairs, and all of my colleagues who today defended the principles upon which our nation was established. Today, the House of Representatives did its constitutional duty. Today, we lived up to our responsibility to the American people by taking action to defend our national security, to preserve our democratic elections, and to show that no one, not even the president, is above the law. I'm now happy to introduce the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff.
The President of the United States has been impeached for now only the 3rd time in history. The President of the United States should be tried. And the question is now whether Senator McConnell will allow a fair trial in the Senate, whether the Majority Leader will allow a trial that involves witnesses and testimony and documents, a trial that should be fair to the President, yes, but should be fair also to the American people. The American people want to hear from people like John Bolton. The American people want to hear from people like Mick Mulvaney. The American people want to see what's in those documents that the President has been hiding at the State Department, in the Office of Management and Budget, in the White House itself. We have done our duty here in the House. We have upheld the Constitution. We have done as the framers would have us do when a president abuses his office and obstructs a co-equal branch of government. The question now is, will the Senate uphold its duty? Will the senators uphold their oath? Do the senators want to hear from the witnesses? Do they want a real trial? We have to hope that they do. The reason we undertook this extraordinary step is because the president not only abused his office, but threatens to abuse it again, threatens to interfere again by inviting foreign interference in our election. The remedy isn't complete as long as the president is free to continue to invite foreign interference in our affairs. I just want to close by thanking the Speaker for guiding the Congress through this tumultuous time. There's no one, I think, who could have guided the Congress with a steadier hand or with more insight and intellect than the Speaker of the House. And I also want to thank my colleagues, in particular, so many new members of the House who have displayed such courage, who have shown that they truly have the courage of their convictions. Thank you.
Just want to add that one person who isn't with us physically in this room, but I know was present all day for the deliberations, our chair of the Gov Reform our Oversight Committee chair, our North Star, Elijah Cummings. He said, when the history books are written about this tumultuous era, I want them to show that I was among those in the House of Representatives who stood up to lawlessness and tyranny. He also said, somewhat presciently, when we're dancing with the angels, the question will be, what did you do to make sure we kept our democracy intact? We did all we could, Elijah. We passed the 2 articles of impeachment. The president is impeached.
Madam Speaker, do you view the House's role in this as complete now, or are there steps you might take to try to ensure, as the chairman suggested, a more fair trial in the Senate?
You mean more fair trial than they're contemplating? Because we had a very fair process in the House of Representatives. I would yield to our let me just put it another way. We have legislation approved by the Rules Committee that will enable us to decide how we will send over the articles of impeachment. We cannot name managers until we see what the process is on the Senate side, and I would hope that that will be soon, as we did with our legislation, our Resolution 660, to describe what the process would be. So far, we haven't seen anything that looks fair to us, so hopefully it will be fair, and when we see what that is, we'll send our managers.
What is a fair trial? What would you consider a fair trial? To send the articles until you understand what the Senate's going to do?
We'll make a decision as a group, as we always have, as we go along.
So you could presumably withhold the articles. You could presumably withhold the articles for weeks until you get what you consider a fair trial.
Well, again, we'll decide what that dynamic is, but we hope that the resolution of that process will be soon in the Senate. Cheryl had one. Cheryl, did you have one, Cheryl? Did you have a question, Cheryl? Yeah.
I do have a question. What do you consider a fair trial? What are you looking for?
Could you give me a screenshot then? Well, let me tell you what I don't consider a fair trial. This is what I don't consider a fair trial. That Leader McConnell has stated that he's not an impartial juror, that he's going to take his cues, in quotes, from the White House, and he is working in total coordination with the White House counsel's office. Any comments, my colleagues, on that?
Let me just say that obviously Senator McConnell, by that declaration, has said that he is so, as in effect the foreman of the jury, is working with the defendant's counsel. That's not fair. And we'll have to see what else, but that's certainly an indication of an intention to have an unfair trial.
We'd like to see a trial where look, it's up to the senators to make their own decision, working together, hopefully in recognition of their witnesses that the president withheld from us, their documents that the president withheld from us, and we would hope that that information would be available in a trial to go to the next step, because that's another level in terms of conviction in terms of this. But right now, the president is impeached. Go ahead.
Can you never send the articles? Is it possible you never send the articles?
We're not having that discussion. We have done what we have set out to do. The House has acted on a very sad day to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, to do so in a manner that was fair, even though the other side was mischaracterizing it. Nonetheless, it was fair and appropriate and urgent. So we will make our decision as to when we're going to send it when we see what they're doing on the Senate side, but that's a decision that we will make jointly. Okay, you're starting to act like another country. Don't shout, okay? Who's not going to shout a question? Yes, sir.
Guarantee that the impeachment articles will be at some point sent to the Senate.
I'm not. That would have been our intention, but we'll see what happens over there.
So you may not send.
That is not, you're asking me, are we all going to go out and play in the snow? That has not been part of our conversation. That has not been part of our conversation. Excuse me, what? I'm sorry, dear. No, I'd never raised the prospect. You asked the question. I never raised the prospect. I said we're not sending it tonight because it's difficult to determine who the managers would be until we see the arena in which we will be participating. That's all I said. I never raised the prospect. Well, we'll see what when they come forward. It's up to the Senate to say what their rules will be. My colleagues, do you want to say anything about this? Because it is, this is a serious matter. Even though the majority leader in the United States Senate says it's okay for the foreman of the jury to be in cahoots with the lawyers of the accused. That doesn't sound right to us. But let's see when they understand what we have acted. Now they'll understand what their responsibilities are, and we'll see what that is. But I never raised that possibility. No. Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments, anyone? No. But anyway, let me again thank our chairman, all 6 of them, and our darling Elijah. They did a remarkable job. And I think you probably, hopefully, will be inspired by the moral courage of our caucus, especially as the distinguished chairman recognized our freshman members who came here, reviewed the facts, understood the Constitution, made their decision, again, to honor their oath of office. We're very proud of them.
Thank you very much. Thank you.